Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a hero tracker going live for Fire Emblem Heroes. If you didn't know, the newest Mythic banner is out, and this is a series I do every month where we basically on banner drop day take a look at when the current heroes on the current legendary or mythic banner are coming back and when, so that you can maybe see like maybe the colorless pool is not your cup of tea this time around. Maybe you're waiting for Leaf to be with, I don't know, air. We'll take a look and see if that's possible. It's not, but that's a bad example. Basically, I let you know when heroes are coming back and give some thoughts on the month so that you can kind of budget your orbs appropriately if that is something that is of interest to you. So if you didn't know, this is a thing that I do every month. And if you're new, welcome. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And let's get into the hero tracker. You'll notice not a whole lot changed from last month if you've been following these that I do. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's start with June. June's a good place to start, right? So June is again unchanged. In fact, July is as well. But June had Just Sothis in red. We had Azura and Chrom and Peony in blue. Yoon and Lynn in green, and then Duma and Robin in colorless. So the first thing that you may notice is right off the bat, blue is full again. There's nobody from blue coming in as a 5-star exclusive. I don't know what they're gonna do with that particular pool. It has been backed up pretty badly, I think is maybe a good way of putting it compared to some of the other colors. I think that what they're gonna do moving forward is they're gonna utilize those Twitter polls to kind of pick a rerun of Forging Bonds and then the accompanying banner, like we saw with the Three Houses banner. So I don't know that they're too concerned about that at this point. They're gonna let the people decide what 5-star exclusives they want to come back, which is not always the best decision, by the way, just for the record. Things like that are how you get like base Edelgard in a top 8 voting gauntlet poll thing when you have things like New Year Alphonse and Altina contending. But all of that aside, I think it is a good idea, and it'll at least let people vote for the things that they want. It'll give IS maybe a better sense of the types of banners or the units on banners or the skills on banners that people are voting for, and maybe that gives them a better idea of how they advance the game. I don't know. I think having more user input, user feedback is always a good thing, and this is one of those things that I think they're utilizing to capitalize off of 5-star heroes not really being able to fit in to these monthly banners anymore. Because again, way back when, years ago, I said eventually they're going to get to a point where they have so many of these things that they're not going to be able to fit everybody in, and you know, we're coming up on the cusp of that, kind of, sort of, and usually it only really happens with blues and reds, which leads me into my next point for June. Red, Just Sothis. That is interesting. June is again a legendary month. It's not a mythic month, so we're looking at a legendary hero. If I had to take a guess, I would say that the only unit really viable for a red slot right here, and again, they've thrown in randos. Don't take this verbatim. I'll look at a legendary prediction later in June before we get ready for that. But I think the only one really viable right now is Lysithea. So I'm not sure who they're going to fill that third red slot for. Could we see Seliph? I don't know. But all of you guys are bombarding my comment section about legendary Seliph, so maybe you'll get him, and then maybe we can stop talking about it for a hot minute. I don't know. But I'm hopeful that, that something like that will happen for you all if you choose to be blessed in such a manner. I don't really know who's coming up on the seasonals yet either. I was kind of thinking it would be Tellius for summer. Now I'm kind of leaning towards almost a genealogy Valentia split, and then a Three Houses Tokyo Mirage Sessions split. I don't know why I kind of feel like that now, but again, we'll look at that later. This is not relevant to the conversation. But that said, anybody from those particular pools might typically be candidates for a Mythic hero or a Legendary hero for that month, because they tend to kind of follow suit. Not always, but sometimes they do. So there's that. So June, my initial impression, probably a red Legendary. There's lots of them out there. So, yeah, that wouldn't be unheard of, I don't think. July. July is interesting, and I will tell you why. Red is full. So we go from blue being full in June to July having reds full. Ike, Altina, and Roy are coping for red. We have Tiki and Fjorm in blue. Thracier and Edelgard is making her return in green, and we've got Air in colorless. Now, I think the last episode, or the last video I did for Hero Tracker, I mentioned that Edelgard coming back so soon, like even before Bramimon. Bramimon had a whole month ahead of her, and she's coming back a month sooner than that. So we're seeing a Legendary Edelgard reappear before a previously installed Mythic Bramimon. And I thought that was kind of odd, but now that I'm looking at it, it's not so odd. In fact, it makes a little bit more sense. July is, of course, the Three Houses release date. It probably got something to do with that. I would not be surprised if there was another Three Houses banner leading in, and this is what kind of makes me think that July might be the month that we see a Tokyo Mirage Sessions Three Houses split summer banner. And on top of that, leading into August is when we're going to have not Mythic. That would be a Legendary month, technically. That's when we're going to see the Brave Heroes, which is basically Brave Houses. And I don't know. I feel like they're not going to hammer home Three Houses stuff in August, just because of that Brave banner already exists. Maybe she was already slatted to come back in August, and they were like, that's a little much. So keep in mind, these guys get planned out 6-8 months ahead of time, minimum, probably. I would not be surprised that if when they launch the new book in, November, December is usually when around they do that they don't have the entire year already planned out. And then the Brave banner, which is, variable until they figure it out in February. They may have the rest of the year planned out aside from that. I don't know. I feel like they probably do. And they don't just put these things in willy-nilly. Sometimes they make adjustments because of those variable things like, the Brave banner. So, for what that's worth, I think Edelgard fitting in July makes more sense now, looking at it a month later, having some retrospect. So, that is what it is. And we've also got Erin Cullis. I don't know if I said that yet, but she's there. There you go. So red is full. Like I said, there's no chance of anybody red getting in there, which makes me think that Lysithea will definitely be in June. But again, that's just speculation. This is, of course, a Mythic month. And if you haven't noticed, Legendaries are even-numbered months, and Mythics are odd-numbered months. So, a little pro tip for you. But other than that, everything's pretty even. It's not too surprising to see colorless only have one rep. I'm sure someone will pop in there. The complication that kind of moves forward here is a lot of the recent banners, the span that we're in now, those 5-star heroes, not many of them were colorless or green. So we had a lot of 4-star demotes in that respect, and maybe that's complicating things. I don't know, but it's getting harder to kind of fill those slots because, frankly, we don't have many of them left. I mean, we went through Memori and Annette pretty quickly, and those weren't exactly old. They're still semi-recent. They're less than 6 months old. But I mean, they were some of the first reps. You'll notice that the green and colorless reps, if there is a 5-star exclusive, those are going to be some of the first ones on the new monthly banners, and that'll kind of lead into, oh well, since Memori was here, that must mean that Tsubasa could be next month. You know what I mean? So they'll lead into the banners that start showing up in these months. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because then we have a lot of variables in terms of, well, we don't have that many colorless units, what are they going to fill it in for? A random Loki appears, and that's, you know, out of nowhere, that's what you get. So there's that. So July is looking kind of interesting. Again, we're not going to have a red Mythic, because there is no red slot open, but maybe not a colorless. Who knows? Could be anything. August. This is where we start to see some of the units come back. And honestly, if you haven't gone for Mila this month, May, August is looking very, very promising for you in the colorless pool, because she is there with Bramimon, another top tier Mythic unit who is also colorless. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So Erica and Reed are here for red. We have Naga and Julia for blue, Hector, Gunthra in green, and then Bramimon and Mila in colorless. Isn't it nice when it's even and everybody has equal representation in the color pool? I don't think so, because then it makes it harder to kind of guess who is going to be in the banner. But, you know, quick math, that's one slot per color that is open. So that one's going to be interesting. That could literally be anybody. I don't think any of the previous months are going to show back up in August, so nobody from June or July are likely to reappear in August. So anybody that's looking for there, probably want to get them soon during their month. And again, this is going to be a legendary month. August will be. No predictions on that yet. It's way down the line. But keep in mind that particular month, you're coming off of 2 months of summer, basically, as well as the Brave banner. So maybe you have more orbs now. Maybe now is the better time to pull for Mila or Leaf, or, you know, anybody that's in the current banner. August is going to be a very depleted month for many people, I would assume, after coming off of so many banners, just bam bam right in a row. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. But honestly, I think it's difficult, because Leaf is very good and I still don't have him. But pulling for Mila, specifically speaking of her because she's the current Mythic, August isn't a bad one, because Bramimon's right there, and that's not a bad trade-off, especially if you don't have him, because he's still relatively new. Alright, September. This is where the majority of the banner from the current month comes back. And you'll notice that everybody but Silica is actually here. So red, we've got Elwood and Leaf. Blue, we have Ephraim and Lucina. Green, Silica, as I just said, and Leaf is back in colorless. So nothing really, nothing really out the norm here. A lot of units are coming back for this particular month. And honestly, we had no change in October. That was just Rioma and Marth. And then November, Alm is coming back in November. He had the biggest jump, which was a big old 6-month bop. So if you're into Alm, now is a really good time to pull on him. The colorless pool is very, very strong in this month. And especially if you don't have Alm, you want Alm, this is a very good chance to get him, because he's not going to come back until November. And that might change. I mean, there is a chance that they do some kind of annotation or update or something along those lines, but I doubt it. If anything, he'd be pushed back, not necessarily pushed forward, unless maybe they get super desperate. I don't see that happening, but it's a possibility, I suppose. The interesting thing here is nothing happened in October, right? Like, they could have put Alm. They could have put Alm in October. They chose not to. So there's that. So they kind of skipped over October, which leads me into this point. I think you will likely see most of the units in the June lineup show back up in October. So if that helps you kind of plan out as well, I mean, they could, in theory, put them all there. Because even if they brought Sothis down, that would still be 3 reds. You wouldn't be at cap. So, I don't think they're going to do that. They doubt that they would. But I feel like the majority of June units are actually going to come back in October. And then maybe one in September. And then November might get a couple as well. But I think it's probably looking similar to what they did this month, where they had 2 come back in August, and then the rest all came back in September. So, take that as you will. I don't think necessarily that it's a bad time to pull. I think a lot of the pulls are strong this month. But here you go. This is the next, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months, however many months it is. Speaking of which, we may need to swap formats here because we are getting a wee bit crowded, and I'm not sure how to handle that. So we may have to switch the formatting up a little bit for safety's sake. So there's that. But this has been Hero Tracker, and I hope it maybe kind of gave you a better idea of when people are coming back, which is the main goal, and hopefully you know how to budget your orbs and you have a good idea of what's happening here. So that is it for this particular video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, hit like, ring a bell. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff you could do. Just pick any and all things that you think might apply. And I appreciate your continued support. Thank you. Thank you. But that is it for me right now. Let me know in the comments who you are most excited for coming back when, what month looks the tastiest to you. And until then, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you next time.